It's ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Thanks for joining us on CoreTV Primetime News tonight. I'm Nifemi Oguntoye. In our major story, Nigerian President Muhammadu Yusuf lauds President Jonathan, pledged support for President-elect Muhammadu Buhari. Also in this program, APC leader Ahmed Tinubu insists leadership of the National Assembly will be based on merit. Inspector General of Police Solomon Arese orders end to detention beyond 48 hours of VIP bag carry. Outside Nigeria, Islamic State militants seize UNESCO World Heritage Site, Palmyra, with civilians trapped inside. We'll begin in Abuja, where Nigeria's Republic's President Muhammadu Yusuf has heaped praises on President Goodluck Jonathan for his leadership qualities in Nigeria and the rest of the continent. This, he noted, is because of the way he made Africa proud by conceding defeat after the March 28 presidential election. Yusuf spoke with State House correspondents through an interpreter after a closed-door meeting with President Goodluck Jonathan at the presidential villa.
Mr. President showed great maturity and statesmanship during the last election by conceding and calling his challenger and to congratulate him. Now that was a great lesson. It's a great lesson to all Africa, to all Africans. It's a good legacy that Mr. President is leaving behind for other countries to emulate. In fact, Mr. President has set a new model of democracy for ECOWAS countries.
Grâce aux convictions démocratiques.
After his meeting with President Jonathan, the Nigerian president also paid a courtesy call on President-elect Muhammadu Buhari. He described the visit as a solidarity one and pointed out that the recent free and peaceful elections in the country would impact positively on the development of democracy in Africa. In his response, the president-elect thanked the Niger leader for his interest and good wishes. Muhammadu Buhari also noted that there's a lot in common between Nigeria and all its neighbors in terms of overlapping ethnic groups, language and culture. Acting National Chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Uche Secondos, says the exit of his predecessor, Adamu Mohazo, and the Chairman Board of Trustees, Tony Anene, will have no negative effect on the party. He said this while speaking with State House correspondents after a meeting with President Goodluck Jonathan at the presidential villa. Secondos also insisted that the duo put in their resignation voluntarily. A national leader of the All Progressives Congress, Bola Tinubu, says the party has not zoned the leadership positions of the National Assembly to any part of the country. He also insists that party leaders have no plans to intervene in the election of principal leaders at the chambers. The former Lagos State Governor spoke to journalists at the Defense House in Abuja.
The nation is expecting us to take a decisive leadership decision, make one, meritoriously. Merit will not be compromised. have to be competent, you have to possess the kind of character, attributes for the leadership. You have to be pan-Nigerian and be a very solid character to lead the National Assembly. And that is what we are talking about. So it's not zoning to compromise quality of leadership and qualification and competency of an individual.
Federal lawmakers from the Kano and Jigawa caucus of the House of Representatives have endorsed Femi Gbajabiamila as the next speaker. They based their decision to support the 7th minority leader on his contributions during the soon-to-end 7th Assembly. But the lawmakers insist that the decision of the leadership of the All Progressives Congress on zoning of the position also remains paramount.
We are coming from the background of party discipline. So the position of our caucus is that we are waiting for the decision of our party. And wherever the party zones the speakership, members of Kano will not go astray. If for whatever reason, the position of the speaker is zoned to the southwest, as the case may be, then I will tell you, no one of our members will miss Femi.
Femi has been minority leader now for 8 years, and he was a member for, I think, 4 years. And those of us who have been with him in the last 4 years can attest to the fact that he is someone who is very dogged, someone who will say it as it is, someone who will stand and fight for the right of the common man without fear of what may be the consequence. And I believe in this era of change, which is a mantra of our party, we need someone who can come with bold ideas, ideas that can change the way and manner Nigerians perceive.
With much due given to the next occupant of the topmost position of Nigeria's 8th Senate, especially concerning whether or not the 4th citizen of Nigeria should be a matter of zoning, Patience Ajiboye, in an interview with a public affairs analyst, brings aside the expectations of people outside the legislature in the special report.
The jostle for who emerges Senate President should David Mark not return as president is one that has brought varying speculations as to the most eligible candidate and how the eventual successor is to be arrived at. The candidates that have so far been reckoned with from the APC in the race are Kwara Central Senator Bukola Saraki, Senator representing Benue Northwest, and former governor of the state, George Akume, former governors of Yobe and Nasarawa states, Danji Maguje and Abdullahi Adamu respectively, who are 7 senators. While the APC has at several times claimed it is not in a game of zoning, speculations are ongoing as to which of the 6 geopolitical zones the Senate presidency lot will fall on. And only recently, Deputy Minority Leader Ahmed Zani said senators may flout the zoning arrangements of the APC if the Senate presidency is not given to the appropriate region. Public affairs analyst Adeni Yukunu says the Senate presidency may be a problem because the situation was not envisaged by the APC. He also stated that there should be a laid-down procedure and basically experience should be put to play in selection.
You are always able to quantify the quality of an individual from the things that come out of their mouths, especially when you ask them questions that are germane.
Victor Ohai, however, says the APC is no doubt a party of strange bedfellows, and as such, the decision of who emerges should be left to senators themselves.
If they do not want to scatter that Senate, then I think the best thing to do is just let the senators decide on their own who they think should be the Senate president. And not just that, the principal officers as well, and both for the Senate and for the House of Representatives.
As the race continues, Nigerians wait to know who emerges the number 3 man of the country in the 8th Senate. Patience Ajiboye, CoreTV News, Lagos.
The Senate has mandated its committees on petroleum resources upstream and downstream to investigate the lingering food scarcity in the country. This follows a motion by the Deputy Senate Leader Abdul Ningi, who stressed the need to get to the root of the nationwide food crisis. He argued that since the 7th Senate would not wound up till June 1st, senators have a duty to help ease the current situation. Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu, who presided over the plenary, approved the motion without debate.
Mr. President, I had the privilege of meeting you this morning in regards to the serious challenges that our nation is facing. There is economic challenge, there is power challenge, but the fact of today's matter is the chronic fuel scarcity in Nigeria. I think we need to remind ourselves we still have the mandate of the people until the 4th of June. We are still the representatives of the people. This is not a matter that we had discussed in the past, but this is a matter that we need information. We need information to be able to plan, Mr. President. As Nigerians, we need to know, we need to ask questions whether fuel scarcity has come to stay. We need to know whether it will become part of our life. We need to actually plan. By planning and by talking about it, we are now sensitizing Nigerians to brace up for the incoming issue of fuel scarcity. Whether it's going to be here permanently, whether it's going to be temporal, but we can't know all these things until we hear from the officials, until we hear from the experts. Therefore, my prayer, Mr. Senate President, is to ask the committees of downstream and upstream to come up with explanation on Tuesday next week, through which they will inform the Senate and through which Nigerians will also know and plan their future. Otherwise, I think it is both legally and morally not right to keep silent about it, to sweep it under the carpet, and to continue to believe these things are usual and nothing matters.
Earlier, the Senate ignored a petition filed by the Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs to clear President Goodluck Jonathan nominees for appointment into the board of the National Hajj Commission. The council had claimed that the president had not consulted with it before forwarding the list to the Senate. Aside from the Islamic Council, 2 other bodies sent in petitions against the nomination of Abdullahi Mohammed as chairman of the commission. Chairman, Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs Sani Saleh drew attention to the petitions while presenting the committee's report, but the Senate confirmed the appointment of the chairman and 7 members of the commission in spite of NCIA's objection. We'll take a first break here, and when we come back, we'll bring you more stories on the Primetime News.
Women share the most amazing thoughts on national issues, and they do it passionately.
For most men that are educated, that are exposed, would see nothing to it.
The population and the level of poverty made me cry. No infrastructural development whatsoever. And you tell me Lagos is working?
That was an accident, and it was a one-off thing. Other than that, there has never been any situation in Nigeria where a Nigerian attacked anybody just because of where they came from.
Sharing the adorable word of women in politics every week, only on CoreTV News.
Welcome back. If you just join us, a recap of some of our top stories. Nigerian President Muhammadu Yusufu Lord's President Jonathan pledges support for President-elect Muhammadu Buhari. APC leader Ahmed Tinubu insists leadership of the National Assembly will be based on merit. Inspector General of Police Solomon Arase orders end to detention beyond 48 hours. VIP back carry. For more on the news, you can reach us via Facebook. It's facebook.com/CoreTV News, and on Twitter, it's CoreTV News NG. We're also streaming live on YouTube. It's youtube.com/CoreTV for the space and news. Moving on now, as the crisis between herdsmen and the villagers in Plateau State continue to linger, the state has been thrown into mourning after some villagers were reportedly killed in Barkin Ladi local government area. According to the villagers, Fulani herdsmen attacked Barkin Ladi, burnt over 100 houses, and left about 22 people dead. However, official reports record the death toll at 7. The victims are now being buried, and the community continues to live in fear of more Fulani attacks in the state. The Nigerian Army on Wednesday revoked all curfew passes given to some residents of Maiduguri, the capital of the troubled Borno state. The military authorities also warned motorists off the streets of the town between 7 p.m. and 6 a.m., insisting that only vehicles allowed to move were ambulances and firefighting vehicles on duty. By this action, all persons that were until now allowed on the roads during curfew hours, like medical practitioners, security officers and journalists, have been barred, as no private vehicles would be allowed to move on the road between 7 p.m. and 6 a.m. The new rule was communicated in a statement issued by the Deputy Director, Army Public Relations, 7th Division, Nigerian Army, Maiduguri, Colonel Tuko Gusau. The statement reads, "The 7th Division Nigerian Army Maiduguri wished to draw the attention of residents of Maiduguri to the fact that all curfew passes previously issued are now revoked. The only vehicles allowed to move during the 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew are ambulances and firefighting vehicles on duty." Ahead May 29 handover ceremony, Inspector General of Police Solomon Arase has ordered all Zonal Assistant Inspectors General of Police and Command Commissioners of Police to beef off security around all key and vulnerable points nationwide. The IG directed that critical infrastructures like filling stations, major hotels, national and state houses of assembly, Eagle Square, Abuja, and other public places should be protected ahead of the handover. Inauguration of new administrations is expected to take place on that date. In a statement issued by the Force Public Relations Officer, Emmanuel Ojukwu, the IGP explained that this was necessary to ward off possible plans by insurgents to carry out violent and coordinated attacks on various installations in public places during the ceremony. The Police High Command urged members of the public to continue collaborating with officers and men of the Nigerian Police Force and other security agencies to stamp out crimes, including terrorism. Meanwhile, the Inspector General has now ordered all commissioners of police not to hold any suspect in detention for more than 48 hours. He also warned the rank and file against handling bags or any items for individuals they are meant to protect. The police chief maintained that any operative caught in the act would be arrested and prosecuted. Paul Samuel has more.
This is the first time since its confirmation that the Inspector General will be meeting with the rank and file of the police. They have come from across all the 12 zones to interface with the police chief. And in his address, the Inspector General reaffirmed the promise he first made when he assumed office a few weeks ago. He also had a word of caution for command CPs on detention of suspects.
You will not invite anybody to our facilities and detain them for more than 48 hours. You must ensure that you gather evidence before anybody is invited to our police stations. We have already sent out teams of escort, IGP monitoring, and provost to ensure that these directives are strictly adhered to.
Arase wants police officers across the country to have a change of attitude to work. And for operatives attached to VIPs, the police chief made it clear he won't tolerate them handling anything other than their weapons.
We have decided that henceforth, only government officials will enjoy police protections those of you who are posted to various VIPs on no account, should you carry their bags? On no account, should you act as domestic servants to them? You are police officers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and they must respect you as such.
To ensure that the force is accountable to its officers, the IG gave other members of the police high command the opportunity to speak with the men. Deputy Inspector Generals took turns to share their cardinal objectives with the rank and file.
The IG and management team, we met and decided that now going to any institution is on merit. This concept of community policing is all about living and working harmoniously with members of the public and the communities that we serve.
You all know there is a policy in this force that you should not take your arms and ammunition home. You all know that we have strongly advised you that if you're going to your beats or your patrols, work in groups.
The Inspector General of Police also promised to make the welfare of the rank and file his key priority. For now, he has approved promotion for 36,599 officers and men of the force. Pius Samuel, CoreTV News, Abuja.
The result of the clash between the drivers' union and the Hausa community in Ado-Ekiti is beginning to dawn on the affected victims. The clash, which snowballed from a trivial issue, was hijacked by hoodlums who wreaked havoc, resulting to looting, arson, and wanton destruction of property. While making an on-the-spot assessment state of the situation, Governor Ayo Fayose declared dusk to dawn curfew on the state. Rashid has more in this report.
The crisis which shook Ado-Ekiti to its root can only be described as an avoidable calamity. With temporary calm returning to the city and all sides holding on for the now, the affected traders visit the scene as they count their losses, perplexed over their situation.
They were just pursuing me. I was begging them, please, we are not Hausa, we are not. They said we are together. They are born it. They just start. Sir, about 4 million, where I want to start? No, where I can start. Okay, where I want to start now? I just graduated, I'm a graduate. No work, no job, no anything. I just use this one to just sponsor myself. Nothing. Look at now, where I want to start. They even bomb my shop, sir.
While on an assessment tour of the crisis scene earlier by the state governor Ayodele Fayose, the Hausa leadership aired their despair and disappointment over what they describe as mistaken identity and their readiness to allow peace reign. This is even coming as armored personnel carriers had to disperse irate youths on both sides.
The 419ers. So, but Hausa people are not 419ers. As they are coming, what they normally do is that they will just throw stones and bottles inside the houses.
Governor Fayose expressed regret over the crisis as he sued for peace. He, however, declared a dusk to dawn curfew.
Therefore, tonight, from this evening, from 6 o'clock this evening, I am imposing curfew on Ado Metropolis. When I leave you here, I go to go and talk to them and tell them down. Anybody will find cutlass or any dangerous weapon on them. Whatever tribe you are, we are going to arrest you.
With the state government set to try any culprit, the onus lies on the police to make arrests rather than retain a laid-back posture as displayed while the crisis lasted. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ado-Ekiti.
The May 29th Inauguration Committee for Governor Abdul Fattah Ahmed of Kwara has been set up. The committee headed by Kola Shitu will look into ways of working out strategies for a successful ceremony. In his briefing, the chairman of the committee, Kola Shitu, unveiled the new administration's program, which aims to build on the current achievement to chart fresh prosperity for the state and its people. He attributed the success of the present administration to the glory of God and the ability as well as willingness of Governor Abdul Fattah Ahmed to have meaningful impact to its people across the state. And it titles the second term inauguration as making Kwara better. He also admitted that this inauguration needs to celebrate in big form and needs to be celebrated in big form to ensure and bring to light the credible performance of Governor Ahmed, and the crisis of short fund makes it a low-key celebration. Workers in Edo State Public Commission say they have threatened to embark on a strike that's on Monday 25th May 2015 if the state government refuses to back down over purported reduction from their May salary. The state chairman of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Emmanuel Ademoko, addressing workers after an enlarged meeting in Benin, says the union is solidly behind them following the decision reached by the Joint Negotiating Council, JNC. The JNC, NLC and TUC had met earlier in the week and issued a communique which criticizes the head of service, Jerry Obasile, for deducting from their May salary as part of the contributory pension scheme without their consent, saying that such steps contravenes laid down laws. Our Edo State correspondent has more in this report.
Over 100 workers from different ministry, parastatals and agencies crowded the venue where the decision was reached to embark on showdown. Should the state government fail to address the alleged salary deduction, some of the aggrieved workers lamented the unjust situation, saying such deduction is on the high side considering their take-home as they pour invectives on the head of service.
We must, by Monday, are we prepared to dance to?
Comrade Terry Isaac, who read the speech of the chairman of the Joint Negotiation Council, Sheikh Otoedi, listed the workers' demand as they called on the state government to do the needful. The group insists the state government rumored deduction is contrary to the Contributory Pension Scheme Law of 2010 and its framework for the implementation.
The selection of critical operators of the scheme, that is pension fund administrators and pension fund custodians. The establishment of a Contributory Pension Commission. Number 3, that the council in session further observe that the directive by the Edo State government to deduct from the employees' salaries pension contributions and remit same to a private account outside the statutory retirement service account is not known to the Edo State Contributory Pension Scheme Law 2010 and therefore not acceptable to the entire workforce of the state.
On his part, Chairman of the Trade Union Congress in the state, Charles Oronsaye, supported the position of the Joint Negotiation Council, adding that next week's strike is inevitable.
Yes, we are not opposed to its implementation, but we are very much concerned with that latest circular, which is taking us by surprise. And any action the Joint Negotiating Council wants to take on this matter, I assure you, Trade Union Congress as a labor center is solidly behind all your actions.
The head of service, Jerry Obasale, who spoke through his media aide off camera, denied the press a response, saying efforts to get the workers to a roundtable talk did not work.
Former Governor Bayelsa State Timi Presivia has asked the Federal High Court in Abuja to quash corruption charges brought against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Sivia, along with Francis Okonkwo, Benga Balogo and Samuel Ogboko, are being prosecuted for alleged misappropriation of funds, close to 2 billion naira from the state coffers between 2009 and 2012. The ex-Governor's Counsel, Lateef Agbemi, who filed the fresh application, said there was no prima facie evidence against his client. But prosecution counsel Rotimi Jacobs informed the court that he only got the application on May 18 and that he needs time to go through it for appropriate action. He urged the court to dismiss the application, insisting that the anti-graft agency has a good case against Sivia, while the trial judge, Justice Ahmed, subsequently adjourns to May 27 for hearing on all pending applications. As the fuel situation in the nation bites harder, Plateau State's condition is worsened by the workers' strike that has compounded the economic life of government and private sector workers alike. Fuel queue at the NNPC mega station now goes farther than 2 kilometers every day. Also being on the queue is not a guarantee that one will get the commodity, as some have spent 4 days and still return with empty tanks.
8 o'clock. We are there here. I sleep here, no go here, no feel anything to try. I carry 4 liters. Enter just they give me just 4 liters. I can't put it inside the motor, carry go park for park. I know if you go for after now still.
Since Thursday I've been here. This is the 4th day that I've been coming to this mega station. We'll queue up. Later they will tell us there is no fuel. It's quite unfortunate.
I have been here since last week, Thursday, trying to get fuel government price, because if you do not get government price, there was no way we can work. And you mean as you can see the situation now in town, there is strike, people don't have money, so we have to get this government price so that our business will move smooth.
We'll take a break now and we'll be back with more stories. Don't go away.
Every day of the week, we bring to you divergent views on news making the headline.
If people who commit crime are being rewarded with national honors, with national appointments, then where are we going in this country?
It's not about whether it was Jonathan or whether you are going to have a Buhari. It's the kind of political structure we run.
Sometimes it gets confrontational.
We are talking about a Buhari who at 41 became head of state. The man did not exhibit the attribute of somebody that is strong intellectually.
So, comrade, you're saying if you become governor, you're going to bring back Okada?
Of course.
You will bring back the market women on the streets?
Excuse me, don't put words into my mouth.
On Core Digest, we bring all of this to the court of public opinion, where you are the judge.
On Business Tonight, power distribution company Ikeja Electric says it will distribute approximately 276.84 meters among its residential, commercial, as well as industrial customers under its new smart metering scheme. Its Chief Executive Officer Abiodun Ajifo Wobache said the first phase would involve the installation of about 2,000 smart meters in all already mapped out areas in all the business units of the company, while the second phase would commence thereafter. The introduction of the state-of-the-art technology smart meters is to guarantee accurate reading without estimation, as well as improve security and tamper detection on the equipment using a wireless communication network. Reports by the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales has found that Nigeria and all the African economies must diversify their economies in order to safeguard them from collapsing in the future. A statement by the ICAEW reads, the report shows that 7 years after the global financial crisis, African prospects have improved, but the story is a mixed one. Underlying figures point to a relatively strong year globally, with a major economic boost from lower oil and commodity prices. With the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India and China as a whole buying 44% of Africa's exports, the report states that an economic slowdown in those 5 major emerging economies poses the most significant external downside risk to Africa's economic outlook. Slowing growth in the BRICS has pushed oil prices on a downward path for the biggest part of the year, creating challenges for Africa's oil exporting economies. Meanwhile, African countries will launch a framework next month to create a 26-nation free trade area by integrating 3 existing African trade blocs to boost what is called regional trade investment, according to South African minister. With a combined gross domestic product of $1 trillion, the tripartite trade area will include the East African Community, the Carbon Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, and the Southern African Development Community in a single free market. A lack of trade integration across the continent has curtailed its growth prospects by driving up the cost of doing business, while removing trade barriers such as export and import fees could promote new markets and boost profits. Official negotiations will be launched later in June for the establishment of a continental FTA to embrace the entire continent of 54 countries, opening up a market of 1.3 billion people with a combined GDP of more than $2 trillion. Gold is seen relatively steady above $1,200. Gold was later changed above $1,200 a ounce on Thursday. Spot gold was firm at 1,208 cents an ounce by 4:0042 GMT after getting 0.2% in the previous session. Gold prices have struggled to break out of $1,170 to $1,230 an ounce range since mid-March. Russia's gold reserves rose to 40.1 million troy ounces as of May 1, compared with 39.8 million ounces a month earlier, according to the Central Bank of Nigeria. U.S. regulators hit up global banks with $5.4 billion in penalties on Wednesday for trying to rig foreign currency markets in their favor. Citigroup, Barclays, JP Morgan Chase, and Royal Bank of Scotland were fined more than $2.5 billion by the U.S. after pleading guilty to conspiring to manipulate the price of dollars and euros. The four banks, plus UBS, have also been fined $1.6 billion by the Federal Reserve, and Barclays will pay regulators another $1.3 billion to settle related claims. U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch said bankers conspired to enrich themselves at the expense of countless consumers. Yields on Nigeria's local bonds rose slightly after central bank's harmonization of the cash reserves requirement on public and private sector deposits triggered a sell-off by some investors. The yield on the benchmark bond maturing in 2024 edged up to 13.63% from 13.60% the previous day, while that on the 2022 paper rose to 13.59% from 13.51%. Secured open buyback OBB is to 7%, while overnight placement fell to 8% from 15% the previous day. Time now to join Sabina Izoku on today's stock market report.
CoreTV News Stock Market Report.
Hello there, welcome to the Stock Market Report segment with me, Sabina Izoku. The weekend's market on the floor, the Nigerian Stock Exchange ended on a negative note today as the Nigerian All-Shares Index depreciated by 0.21% to close at 34,459.70 basis points. The market capitalization went down to close at 11.70 trillion naira. In all, the total volume at 196.2 million units of shares valued at 1.35 billion naira exchanged in 3,876 deals. And on the gainer side, National Salt Company of Nigeria topped the chart, followed by Fitson, Dangote Cement, Eco Transnational Incorporation, and Dangote Sugar. And for the flip side, Seplat Oil topped the chart, followed by Guinness, Nigerian Brewers, UAC Property, and Vitafoam. And for the top trader side, Champs PLC topped the chart, followed by Skybank, Eco Transnational Incorporation, First City Monument Bank, and Fidelity Bank. And just before we wrap up the stock market report, here's the currency trade for today. I am Sabina Izoku.
CoreTV News Stock Market Report.
And now to some stories outside Nigeria. Islamic State, ICE militants in Syria have entered the UNESCO World Heritage Site of Palmyra after seizing the town next to the ancient ruins, according to reports. UNESCO says its destruction would be an enormous loss to humanity, but no damage has been reported there yet. The United Nations says it has received reports that Syrian forces in Palmyra prevented civilians from leaving ahead of its fall to Islamic State militants. The UN, though not present in Palmyra, cited credible sources. It says it was deeply concerned about the plight of civilians remaining in Palmyra amid reports of summary executions. The UN has now announced that talks between rival Yemeni parties will take place in Geneva, Switzerland on May 28 in a bid to end over 7 weeks of war. Ban Ki-moon, UN Secretary General, said the May 28 meeting was to restore momentum towards a Yemeni-led political transition process after weeks of conflict that have left 1,850 dead. The Secretary General is pleased to announce the launch of inclusive consultations starting on May 28 in Geneva to restore momentum towards a Yemeni-led political transition process. It says the initiative, which would bring together the Yemeni government and other parties, including the Houthis, followed extensive consultations by the Secretary General's Special Envoy to Yemen, Ismail Sheikh Ahmed. And now to some sporting actions. We'll start with the FIFA presidential candidate Michael Van Praag, who was withdrawn from the election, leaving only 2 people rivaling the incumbent Sepp Blatter. Van Praag, 67, who is president of the Dutch Football Federation, says he will support Prince Ali bin Al Hussein of Jordan in the election on May 29. Former Portugal midfielder Luis Figo, 42, is the third man in the election. Blatter, 79, is expected to win a 5th presidential term and remain in charge of World Football governing body. Each of FIFA's 209 member associations have a vote in the election, with the Football Association intending to support Prince Ali, although the Scottish FA had previously said they will back Van Praag. Leicester forward German Vardy and QPR striker Charlie Austin have been named in England's squad to play the Republic of Ireland and Slovenia in June. Vardy, 28, has 4 Premier League goals this season, while Austin, 25, has netted 17 times for relegated QPR. Burnley goalkeeper Tom Heaton, 29, is also called for the first time. England, who were unbeaten in 9 games, played the Republic of Ireland in Dublin on 7 June before a Euro 2016 qualifier in Slovenia a week later. Roy Hodgson's side are top of Group E after winning all 5 qualifying games, 6 points clear of second-place Slovenia as they aim to reach the tournament in France. Nigerian senior team coach Stephen Keshi has given under-20 striker Taiwo Awoniyi the green light to lead the Super Eagles attack when he finishes with the under-20 World Cup in New Zealand. Awoniyi, a top talent in the Flying Eagles squad, is expected to light up the Youth Championship that starts next week with his eye for goal and impressive physique. The 18-year-old scored a brace for Samson Siasa's under-23 squad in a recent All-African Games qualifier in Lusaka, Zambia, and it will be only a matter of time before he makes a senior team debut. Keshi told Goal that Awoniyi is ripe enough to lead the Eagles attack, but must indicate his readiness to take that responsibility on the field of play. The 53-year-old wished his future lead man a good time at the FIFA tournament, where Nigeria never won despite reaching 2 finals. The Nigeria under-20 side will begin the title challenge with a game against Brazil on June the 1st in New Plymouth. Nigerian international Nosai Gebo celebrated his 3rd title of the season after Maccabi Tel Aviv defeated cross-city rivals Hapoel Be'er Sheva 6-2 in the state capital. Paco Ayestran's men, fueled by a deafening atmosphere inside Sami Ofer in Haifa, brought the Camels to their knees with an outstanding display to win the tournament for the 23rd time. The former Real Betis star was serving a 1-match ban, so watched the actions from the stands as his teammates ripped Hapoel, who had John Ogu and Austin Ejide, apart. Going into the game, Super Eagles goalkeeper Ejide had kept 12 clean sheets in all competitions this term, but conceded 6 goals, with former Sweden forward Reid Prika getting the better of him thrice. Igebo, who has scored 3 goals in 29 league games for the Bloomfield Stadium outfit, now boasts of the State Cup, Toto Cup, and the Premier League titles. Maccabi Tel Aviv will now feature in the qualifying rounds of next season's UEFA Champions League. And out to some tennis. James Ward went out to the 2nd round of French Open qualified with a 3-set defeat by Sweden's Christian Lindell. The British number 3 was 2 points from victory in the second set, but lost 3-6, 7-6, 7-5, 6-2 as compatriot Leah Broden went down 6-7, 5-7, 7-2, 6-2 to Moldova's Radu Abbott in round 1. In the women's draw, Joe Coulter and Naomi Brody both won their first round matches. Coulter, the British number 2, beat Seb Giovanna Jasic 6-0, 6-3 before Brody saw off Kagla Buyukaka of Turkey 6-1, 7-6, 7-4. They will play the second round matches on Thursday along with fellow Britons Bryden Klein and Carl Edmond in the men's draw. Ward 28 made it through qualifying to the main draw last year and was seeded 8th in the qualifying this time, but they let a winning position slip on a rain-interrupted day in Paris. To end CoreTV Primetime News tonight, a recap of our top stories. Reported that Nigerian President Muhammadu Yusufu has lauded President Goodluck Jonathan and has pledged support now for President-elect Muhammadu Buhari. Also in this program, APC leader Ahmed Tinubu has insisted leadership of the National Assembly will be based on merit. Inspector General of Police Solomon Arase has ordered end to detention beyond 48 hours and VIP bag carrying. On behalf of everyone here, it's good night. Thank you for watching. I am Nifemi Oguntoye.